Greetings. This is Arvette McLean of Speak, the Universe Listens.
We cherish that. We love that particular piece of it because it
teach people like, hey, it's okay, change.
New ways to view age-old challenges. Change your thoughts, change your life. Step into the bigness of you.
Today's episode of Speak, the Universe Listens. And today's topic is the role of thoughts on your health. And we've been talking a lot about how thoughts create things. And so a lot of times we don't think about how much our thoughts can affect our health. So a lot of times we think that maybe it's our genetics, our genes, or we think in terms of, maybe the foods we eat and our environment, but a lot of times we don't think about how our thoughts can affect our health.
I really think, in a way, even with myself on an everyday basis, I try to watch what I tell myself, just mentally, and then just how I talk to myself. Trying to make sure that I don't put myself down. If anything, when it comes to my thoughts, try to already know that I do have what it is that I already want to have. So I put myself in that energy, and in a way, I seen after a while things start to look a little different in my journey of just growing and elevating myself. So with my thoughts, for some people it can be difficult. I can say it'd be difficult, not hard, but let's say challenging. That's the right word for it, challenging. So just taking away the thought process of what you can't do and the excuses of why you can't have what it is that you want to have, and change that narrative, and you'll slowly start to see things sort of change for yourself. Is it challenging? Yes, but for the most part, it's just more of you have to put it into practice on an everyday basis.
Yeah, I actually like this topic because I'll never forget one time I was in high school. I had just failed a test, and it was like a big test, so I knew it was gonna be real reflective of my grade. But I had sat there after I failed and panicked so much that I legit caused myself to have a blackout, and I was like, this is something that I never have experienced before. But at that moment, I had panicked myself so much that I couldn't see. So now I'm just sitting here in this math class, unable to see. Nobody knows I can't see. I'm over here stressed out about this test that I failed. I'm like, I'm just done. So yeah, I really like this topic because our thoughts do create our health. And I guess to share a little more, growing up, I used to be kind of sick. But I'll never forget, it was around 13. I was like, yeah, I'm just not going to the doctor again. And so most people would probably well, you shouldn't do that. But I was like, no, whenever I feel bad, I know I can make myself feel better. I was like, I'm not. It's a funny thought. I was like, I don't want to keep giving them money for them to tell me I got a cold when I could just fix the cold myself. And so now the way I fix my colds is I start thinking I'm never going to catch a cold. And I never do. If you ask me now if I have a cold, I'm like, nah, that's just allergies. Because your thoughts really do control your health.
I like that.
I just want to make a comment about that because, Rodney that's on the show, he would always say, every time I go to Las Vegas, I get sick. I'm like, I wonder why. But exactly what you guys are saying is exactly true. thoughts can control like your instant health, but it also can control your long-term health. And so a lot of times it's not really you thinking I'm gonna be sick or anything like that. It's the environment that your body is in. And so we do tend to think about our environment can make us sick. So we know if we're around toxic areas, it could cause, cancer or all kinds of things. It could cause breathing problems. So we know our environment can affect our health. But we also have an internal environment. And so the very environment that our cells are in affects our health as well. And so it's our thoughts that causes the feelings, that secretes the hormones in our body that our cells are now sitting in. And so the direct way that our thoughts are affecting us is that our thoughts, let's just say we're having stressful thoughts, we're producing stressful chemicals, and then our body, our cells are in that environment of our body. And so we know that stress causes our immune system to shut down, and it also causes our growth centers to shut down. And so I guess every day we grow, what word am I looking for? I'm just saying grow, we make like billions of cells a day. But when that gets shut down by stress, then we're not making all those cells and not replenishing themselves, and then that's the cause of disease as well.
So I would say, I mean, I really, I agree with you with that. Just with the thought process, just really trying to put yourself in the mind state of positivity. With your environment, sometimes it can be challenging because your environment may not be the environment that you really want it to be, and at the same token, you still trying to be a positive yet operating at a higher level, but your environment of who you surrounded by. You said toxic, you can be surrounded by toxic coworkers or toxic family members, and you're trying to just be that light, but it can be very challenging. So with that though, I would say it's more of like everyday step of just practicing, because you got to be able to be in an environment as to where you're going to get challenged. You're going to have those things as to where it's going to be tempting to go from a higher state to go to your lower state, and just going off on somebody. So watching your thoughts. For me, my biggest thing is I'm surrounded by co-workers that are very low vibrational, and so sometimes when I talk to them, I have to watch how I interact with them. So I can't interact with them on their level. So if I come to them on a high vibrational level, the whole scene and the whole vibe sort of changes. They start to catch up to my level, and I'm like, okay. Because at one time it was very difficult. I'd be like, come to work and people just so depressed and all down, and I'm like, no, then I started to catch that same vibe. But after a while, after I started to practice my thought process and how I want to be, just be it, then it was like, okay, I got this now. I know how to operate that.
And you brought up a very important point that I can't stop stressing is whatever is out there, it appears to be out there, is really in here. And so these low vibrational people, which I don't believe in, I believe people can vibrate at a low rate, but as a person, you're a high. We're all high vibrational people, but we can have veils on and things that cause us to be currently emitting a low vibration. But what we're seeing out there is a reflection of what's going on in here. And so a lot of times we might think, oh, I'm happy and everybody else is sad or whatever, but is there something in you that you're not sitting right with? Like a lot of times, we might not feel worthy about something, or we might feel guilty about something, or it might be just something playing out in our subconscious mind, And even though we're able to put on this happy face, what you see in your environment,
It's what's going on.
exactly. And so otherwise it wouldn't be able to exist
Mhm.
in your presence. And so it's not to say that you're causing these people to vibrate at a lower rate, but because it's in your field,
Mhm.
what you're able to see and witness and feel, then you know that it's something that's going on in you as well.
Yeah. Both of you actually just said something that reminded me of a story, well, a story in a movie that I just recently watched. So, not sure how many people are familiar with the story of Henrietta Lacks, but Henrietta Lacks was a black woman who they found her cells would keep reproducing. And so now they use her cells to like try out different diseases and find different cures and things of that nature. But when I was watching the movie, what was interesting is they always, like, they show how many people just speaking about, oh, she was always a happy person, and she was always, like, the nicest person you would meet. And it just made me think about this topic because how you think you feel dictates how you feel, in a sense that if you think that you're, like, down, then your health would be down. But because she was always happy, she has these, like, immortal cells. And it just made me think, well, if she has immortal cells, and every recollection of her is her being happy, then maybe if we raise our vibrations and raise our energies, then we also have immortal cells and can cure those same diseases that her cells are curing. So, yes.
Yes. That's exactly right. And I have read this thing, somebody had posted on Facebook, they say something like, when someone tells you it runs in the family, you tell them, well, this is where the road ends, or whatever. And a lot of times we think that our genes, you know, like your mama got it, you know, your sister got it, so therefore you have it too. And that may be true. However, your thought is able to change how that cell represents or expresses itself. So every gene can express itself 1,000 different ways. And so even though you may have inherited a gene that's expressing itself, let's just say with diabetes, this gene is expressing itself with diabetes, and you inherited that from your parent. But you can change your thinking, just in your very raising your vibration, you can change how that gene is expressing itself.
That, for me, I would say, growing up, I was just surrounded by this lack mindset, and I got it from my mom, and then when I got older, I still had that lack mindset, like, I can't have X, Y, Z, because I was just in the mindset of struggle, and that's all that I knew. And so, when I started to just grow mentally and spiritually, and I got my mind sort of right, aligned with myself where I wanted to be at, I realized that I was breaking the chains, sort of. Mm-hmm. And I noticed when I look back, I was like, dang, I was taking on all these traits, this narrative that really wasn't my story at all,
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, I don't have to be that individual just because, my parent may have experienced that. That doesn't mean I have to experience that. So I rewrote my own story for myself, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not living in lack. I'm not gonna think in that. So every time when that thought pops up in my mind, I take a second. I'm like, you got it. You got it. When I go to the store and I see something that costs like $50, even though I had $50, I used to be like, that ain't $50. I'm like, I don't know. But, I just changed my thought process on it, and it just sort of opened me up mentally, got me to a better mind state for myself.
Yeah. So, this might be a little personal, but I know one thing that we often have also talked about is our ability to heal others as well. And I just wanted to touch on that a little bit because, I don't know, the more I walk through life, the more I feel like that's very possible. That just our feelings and our emotions and our vibrations can heal others. And I think that if you ever want to know if your thoughts create things, then just look at everything that you think for 5 minutes and then just watch what's happening around you, because most of it is reflective of your thoughts. And I did that exercise that we had tried once, that you had talked about once before, where you just set like a little timer and you just write down all the thoughts that you had at that very moment. And I was like, all right, well, it's a lot of thoughts of lack, a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of, well, I wonder this, I wonder that, instead of I'm doing this, I'm doing that, this is happening, that is happening. And so when I did it again, I was like, all right, now let's change the thoughts and make sure we only focus on what we are doing, and never saying what we want to do, but say what we are doing. So thoughts definitely become things.
Yes. And then I also wanted to mention about, I guess, kind of Stephen made me think of this, that your body actually responds to your thoughts. So, like a lot of times we hear people say, listen to your body, listen to your body. And I would be like, am I supposed to be listening to my body? And like, is my body controlling me? Like, I was confused about that, but I finally got it. Like, our bodies are finally tuned to our thinking, to the environment that we are creating by our thoughts. Our bodies will let us know what's going on up here. And so, basically, if you're not paying attention to what's going on up here, your body is going to let you know. So it's kind of like, okay, if you missed it, your body's going to tell you.
Right.
Yeah, so listen to your body. But ideally, you would listen to your higher self first before it gets to just the body where it's expressing itself in a negative way. Or I should say in a way that's unwanted. And this topic is always a topic for me because I had these dang on knee issues.
Say, let's talk about these knees. Let's talk about
these knees, yeah. And I want to say, like, one of the hardest concepts, I'm not going to say the hardest, but a concept that was challenging for me to get was the whole idea of, like, I could understand how my thoughts can cause disease or dis-ease in my body, but I couldn't understand how did my thinking affect me getting injured, like if I fall and now my knee hurt. How does that happen? And I finally got it simply because our thoughts are creating everything around us, and so yes, your thought caused your knee to hurt as well. But so because I've had this nagging knee issue it's going on years now, and it's like I know in theory what I need to do, and I will do it to a certain degree, and then my knee will feel good enough to do what I wanted to do, and so I stop doing what I need to do until it starts hurting again. And so the point that I'm making is that I totally understand, like, when something hurts, it's hard to vibrate harder. You know, you're like, my knee hurt, but it hurts right now. So I personally feel like one of my personal challenge with raising my vibration is as it relates to healing. Because it's like right in your face and it hurts right now or whatever. So I think Stephen has said it too, but just the whole concept of feeling better now, like raising your vibration such that you are feeling love pulsating throughout your body, that you are feeling every cell of your body pulsate with love. Like the more we can do that and embody that feeling of love so that your cells know right now, this environment is like the place I want to be.
that good energy. That good energy.
Yeah, and so being in conscious awareness that you're really pumping your body up and just feeling the love just in every cell of your body and feeling it pour out of you is one of the keys to healing, whether it's injury or disease or changing your gene in terms of making some of your receptors turn on, some others turn off, to make your gene a more whole or complete or well gene. And a lot of times people think that, okay, if I'm sick and it's because of how I'm thinking, then they feel bad, like, dang, what kind of thoughts have I been having I don't made myself sick? And then that's the opposite of what we want to think. Like, we don't want to think like, I'm making myself sick. And then you start feeling bad.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to not even go there with it. It's like, okay, so yes, these are the thoughts that you've had up until now. So now just think something different.
Mm-hmm. So, it's funny, when we first said that this was going to be the topic, the very first story I thought of was one that you told me, and you might have said it on the podcast, so please correct me if I'm telling it wrong, about the guy who had fell and was paralyzed, and he healed himself with his thoughts. Didn't he heal every individual vertebrae?
Well, he would envision every single one of his vertebrae being exactly as it was supposed to be. So yeah, he was totally paralyzed, and this is actually what's the guy we like? Dr.
Dr. Wayne died.
No, not Dr. Dyer. I don't know why his name is escaping me right now, because it's one of my favorite.
I don't know why it's a name like Iceman or something.
Randy, you don't know. Dr.
Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
Joe Dispenza. Okay.
Talk about Joe Dispenza all the time. Yeah, so Dr. Dispenza was the one, he actually was paralyzed, and he literally forced himself every day to imagine every vertebrae in his back to be in perfection. And I think within 6 weeks he was walking.
Wow.
And within 12 weeks he was back running again.
See, that's just...
And this is from an injury that he was never supposed to recover from.
Wow.
I just would never not be amazed by that story. Only because when I think about how serious a vertebrae injury is and how much it can literally like stop and alter your life like tremendously, to just envision all of them being exactly how they are and then it happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then not only is it happening, but it's not like he's like somebody who's like an imaginary figure or a fable. You can see him.
Right.
So that's kind of what sold it for me, that our thoughts do control our health. Because I can go on YouTube and watch him.
Right. And John Asserer shared a story similar, because he had ulcerative colitis. And that's one of those diseases that they're like, you just got to learn to live with it, whatever. And so basically his ability to move around in the world was limited, because at any moment it can go into spasms, and then it will cause you to release everything in your body in that moment. So he really, as a young man, like in his early 20s, he was confined really to his home. And he started saying this little affirmation, and I forget how long it was, but it might have been like within 3 months he was totally healed. And this man is like in his 60s now, and he's been healed for like 40 years just from saying this affirmation. He still says the same affirmation every day.
That's just amazing.
And it's amazing, but the main thing that's amazing to me though is like when somebody is in that physical condition, but it's to where they don't want to be in, how you have to get your mindset into that mode of, as to where it's like, you know what, I'm going to overcome this. And I think that's like one of those things, the challenging part of trying to get yourself from being in a state of just pain, misery, I'm stuck, to knowing that I'm going to overcome, I got this, I'm going to be good, I'm not even worried about it. And then eventually it does happen for you, as the way it's like, I'm good. So I think that's the most amazing part to me.
I agree, because Dr. Dispenza, he said when he was paralyzed, he was just like, woe is me. Woe is me, woe is me. Why did this have to happen to me? My life is over. I can never do it. So this is the stuff that's in his head, like how will I ever support myself? I'll never, have family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Woe is me. So he had to overcome that in order to start healing his body. And so I think he was like, the first time he tried it, he might have did it for 60 seconds. You know, he was able to stay focused for 60 seconds. And then his mind took over, all the negativity took over. Then the next day he made himself do it again. And, you know, he might have did it a little longer, but his goal was to make it from one vertebrae from the bottom to the top without stopping. And so he just trained himself. He just pushed and pushed and pushed himself to think all the way. And so every time, let's say he made it through one vertebrae, then his mind go awry. So then he would start over back at 1. And then he'd go 1, 2, and his mind would go awry. Yeah.
But he realized he had all the power within him.
Yeah. Exactly. And one last story for me is with the whole knee issue, and I know I've shared this with you guys before. But I was told I probably wouldn't run anymore, and that was just devastating. Devastating to me. And I needed to have surgery, and even with the surgery, it was only a 40% chance that I'd be able to run, and scheduled the surgery and everything. But in the time in between the surgery, you know, I had some space. And so I started writing every day. I would fill up a whole page of all the reasons why I knew I would run again. And I just wrote and wrote. And probably within 2 weeks, I knew, I was like, I feel like I can go run. I can feel it. But I didn't. I waited it out. And then by the end of a whole month, because I had committed to doing 30 days of it. So at the end of 30 days, I went running, and I've been running ever since.
Love
That's
it.
just perfect. Just perfect.
Love it. Love it.
Well, I do have one more story I want to say. I'm sorry. Because you talking about the knee made me think about when I had my knee surgery, and this is a funny moment that I'll never forget. I'll never forget I had the knee surgery, and so they put me like in a little wheelchair, and I remember the doctor was like, yeah, you know, sports probably look a lot different for you. You might want to, you know, start looking into more stationary sports, but I'm a football and basketball guy, so that's just not for me. I never forget, right when I got home, the first person I called was Rodney. And oh my goodness, he probably hated the story. I called him, I cried, I said, man, I'm in a wheelchair. We got quiet for about 5 minutes, and I don't know why, but we both just busted out laughing. It was like, and at that moment, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be fine. It was like, I couldn't even feel bad for myself in that moment. It's like, yeah, I'm in a wheelchair, but I'm not gonna be here forever. I'm fine. So yeah, your thoughts definitely become things, and just as important as mental health is, I think it's also important to know that your health is mental.
Oh, I love it. That was a good one. And then the whole thing is, we hear it all the time, is laughter is the best medicine.
It is.
And I've heard stories, Tony Robbins actually shared this story about how one of his good friends had taken ill or whatever, and he just brought him like all these videos of like comedies, and so they would just put those videos in and just watch them and just laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. And so needless to say, his friend got better. So yeah, so any other comments about your thoughts and your health?
Change your mindset. Change the mindset. You know, get out of the mindset of you're lacking. Get out of the mindset of excuses as to why you can't get yourself in a better position, why you can't elevate yourself. And every day, just take baby steps. Practice if you have to. Just show up every day for yourself. Just watch yourself grow, but start with you first, okay?
Yeah, and I think, you know, when something's wrong, we resist it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we tend to be like, I'm gonna fight this. And I don't know if fighting it is the right energy.
It's like what you resist persists.
Exactly. So it's like you want to accept it, like accept, okay, so my knee hurts, so okay, I have whatever the illness is, okay, I have it. And then start finding something to appreciate. You know, simple things like if the issue is being overweight, then you can start appreciating how beautiful certain things of your body are. Or let's just say if, you know, your knee hurts, then you can kind of appreciate how great the other one works and, you know, all the wonderful things that your knees have done for you over the years. Or, you know, just start finding something to appreciate, because I do believe appreciation is like the highest vibration, or one of the highest vibrations. So then we already talked about pouring love into your body. Yeah, so rather than, you know, I gotta fight this, I'm gonna beat this. And I understand
I get it.
that,
Yeah.
but a better way is to flow love to it instead of resisting, and then allowing the energy that you're creating around you and in you to heal it for you. You guys have gotten something interesting, at least a little nugget out of this, how your thoughts can affect your health, and they do. It affects your health every day in every way. Until next time, guys, this is our vet.
This is Steve.
It's Teron.